Imagine a child who closes her eyes at night, but never falls asleep. A girl who walks through the midnight hours with pupils wide, pulse steady, and breath unbroken. Doctors came to observe her. Ministers came to pray over her. Parents locked their doors at night, fearing what they saw in their daughter's eyes. This is not the story of insomnia. This is the story of a body that refused the oldest rhythm of life itself. 1868. Philadelphia, the girl who never slept. Her name was recorded as Clara Turner, though baptismal notes suggest even that may not have been her true name. She was born during a thunderstorm in 1859, a winter child whose first cry did not arrive until 3 full minutes after delivery. Witnesses swore her eyes were open, unblinking, searching, as if she had entered the world already awake. Her mother, pale and trembling, whispered that the child hadn't been born, but delivered herself. Such words, of course, were crossed out from church records, but the nurses remembered, and they shivered. Most infants wail through the night. Clara lay silently in her crib, her gaze fixed on shadows. Neighbors noted that no candle burned in the Turners' home after dusk. They didn't need one. Clara's stare, they claimed, seemed to illuminate the room faintly, as if her eyes absorbed light and reflected it back. Her mother confessed privately that she had never seen her daughter sleep. Not once, not a nap, not a sigh of dreaming. It was whispered that her heartbeat faltered when she was forced to close her eyes, and so she never dared. By the time Clara was 8 years old, her condition attracted the attention of the Pennsylvania hospital. Physicians sought to classify her disorder. They wrote clinical notes with terms like ceaseless wakefulness and nervous suspension. But none could explain why Clara's skin was always cool or why her pupils never dilated in response to light. They strapped her down, waited for exhaustion to overwhelm her body, and still she did not sleep. She simply stared hour after hour until the men themselves collapsed beside her. The Turners, overwhelmed and shamed, turned to their church. The Reverend declared Clara's wakefulness a curse. If rest is God's design, then perpetual vigilance must be Satan's counterfeit. A failed exorcism was performed. Clara did not scream or convulse. She merely watched, as though the ritual were theater staged for her amusement. One priest fainted under her gaze, claiming he saw an unending corridor of eyes in her pupils. From then on, the church refused her family communion. Philadelphia in the late 1860s was a city divided between industrial growth and old-world superstition. In Clara's neighborhood, whispers spread that her presence coincided with a string of unexplained deaths. Workers at the nearby mill were found collapsed, faces pale, eyes wide, as though they too had not slept in weeks. Some claimed Clara wandered the streets at night, standing silently at doorsteps, staring until shutters closed in terror. Children crossed the street to avoid her. The Turners boarded their windows. In 1868, a child named Marianne Keene vanished. She was last seen walking home from school, trailing behind Clara by only a few steps. Witnesses recalled that Clara's lips moved, though no sound emerged, as if she spoke in silence. Marianne was never found. Her family insisted Clara had something to do with it. Yet no evidence surfaced. The Turners denied everything. Still, by winter, the family's yard was vandalized with paint spelling one word: Watcher. Records note that Clara would sometimes stand motionless for entire nights, her chest rising so shallowly that doctors feared she was dead. Then, without transition, she would resume movement, treating books upside down, sketching spirals on the walls, or whispering in a language no one recognized. Nurses tasked with observation often resigned, reporting hallucinations after only a few nights in her company. One swore she heard Clara's voice inside her skull asking, "Do you know what watches you while you sleep?" The case reached the attention of the American Philosophical Society, who sent scholars to the Turner home. They theorized that Clara represented an evolutionary aberration, a human designed without need for rest. But their studies darkened quickly. Animals placed near Clara died within days, birds refusing to close their eyes, dogs pacing until collapse. The society quietly withdrew their notes, labeling them improper for publication. Clara remained awake, watching. By spring of 1869, Clara's father, once a respected tradesman, had grown unstable. He told a neighbor that he dreamed only of eyes, thousands unclosing, filling the night sky. He stopped attending work, muttering that his daughter was not his blood but an intruder wearing his child's face. One night he vanished. His boots were found near the Schuylkill River, but no body surfaced. The Turners never spoke his name again. After her father's disappearance, Clara was sent briefly to the St. Catherine's Orphanage for girls. There she terrified the matrons. Children awoke screaming, saying Clara stood beside their beds, counting their breaths. Within 3 months, 3 orphans were dead. No wounds, no signs of illness, just wide, unblinking eyes. The orphanage expelled her back to her mother with a single letter. We cannot keep her. She does not belong to us or to anyone. By 1870, Clara became the subject of public demonstrations at a medical theater. Spectators paid to watch her remain awake for days, then weeks. Some fainted as the girl stared directly at them, but the demonstrations ended when a young doctor slit his wrists in the theater, leaving a note. She showed me what it is that wakes when we sleep. Mrs. Turner aged rapidly, her hair whitening within a single year. She confessed in private letters that she had not slept in months. Whenever she closed her eyes, she felt her daughter's stare on her skin. In 1871, she died of exhaustion, though the coroner noted that her eyes had been pried open at death. Clara, then 12, did not cry. Witnesses say she simply watched her mother's coffin until it disappeared from sight. A wealthy physician named Dr. Elbridge Moore attempted to adopt Clara, insisting he could cure her. He removed her from public life, housing her in his estate outside Germantown. But his household staff reported strange phenomena: mirrors shattering, clocks stopping, night terrors that left servants screaming. Moore himself was later found dead in his study, head bent backward unnaturally, eyes staring at the ceiling. Clara was gone. Over the next decade, scattered sightings placed Clara in various towns across Pennsylvania. Always the same description: a girl, pale with unblinking eyes, wandering streets at night. Each town reported sudden increases in sleepwalking, night terrors, and unexplainable deaths. It was as if Clara carried with her an infection not of the body, but of the dreaming mind. By 1880, all medical records of Clara Turner vanished. Hospital ledgers were scrubbed. The Philosophical Society denied ever studying her. Even church archives blacked out her name. It was as if someone erased her from history. But the whispers remained, passed from doctor to doctor like a secret shame. The girl who never slept had become not just a patient, but a forbidden story. Some whispered Clara was not human at all, but a vessel, a body meant to host something that could never rest. Others believed she was punishment, a reminder that sleep is the only barrier between us and the abyss. And a few, in quiet, admitted the most frightening thought of all, that Clara was simply the next step in human evolution, that one day none of us will sleep again. In 1892, a small Pennsylvania mining town reported a girl who never slept. Within 6 months, the entire town was abandoned, homes left mid-meal, beds unslept in, clocks frozen at midnight. The census erased the town from records. Only fragments remained, suggesting Clara had returned, bringing with her an insomnia that consumed not individuals, but entire communities. To this day, sleep researchers stumble across scattered references, fragments of suppressed papers, missing case files, anonymous testimonies. They describe patients who stopped dreaming, whose minds broke apart after weeks of wakefulness. And sometimes, in late-night labs, assistants report seeing a girl in the corner, pale and unblinking, silently counting. Always counting. So ask yourself tonight, when you close your eyes and surrender to sleep, who is it that watches? If sleep is a mercy, what lies beyond its absence? The Victorians buried the case of Clara Turner because it was not a sickness, not a disorder, but a revelation too dangerous to keep alive. The girl who never slept did not vanish. She waits, and tonight, if you feel your breath being counted, perhaps she has found you.